There are a lot of different types of pressure for targeted individuals. There are a lot of different ways to form, to gaslight, to push people into certain areas and mentalities. A lot of these techniques and methodologies are accumulative. And you can kind of get the sense, or you can feel, or you can just tell when something is, kind of on the agenda. Okay. I've mentioned before that, targeted individuals are going to deal with different levels of harassment. There's going to be different strategies. At first, the target is going to get hit pretty hard. They're going to be, told in obvious ways, and they're going to be, they're going to be informed. However, long it takes and however ridiculous it needs to get, that they are playing a game, that they are being hunted, that they are in danger, that their privacy has been invaded, that people are after them, that they better watch out. There's going to be a lot of messages that go into that, and it's going to be aggressive. And then it can change, and I've talked about that before, where it's going to slow down, and, it's just part of the up and down seesaw type of bounce strategy that goes in to breaking someone down and chipping away at their sanity and maybe even getting them to question their perception. Okay. But a lot of times, that's broken up into a lot of different areas. And I've mentioned before that targeted individuals in a lot of ways are pushed. They're agitated. They are, taken to a place in their mentality to where they're going to get frustrated, angry, possibly even volatile. And, that can be a goal. That can be a place. That can be an agenda that they want to take someone. And, or it can be other things too. And, you can look at a lot of different techniques, and we've talked about several of them, where you have like a silent technique in street theater where people are smirking or talking under their breath or insinuating that they need to, talk to the people around the targeted individual privately later. They're not going to say why, they want you to assume that since they have to whisper in each other's ears around you, or, look at each other and say keywords or whatever, or, have some type of conversation later where you're absent from the proximity, that, somehow you're just not involved in it. And the targeted individual is going to get that a lot. They are the odd person out. They're left out. Oh, it says nothing. It's just something. It's not about you. Okay. And you, at that point, you want to react, but you know better. You want to say, well, if you guys got something to talk about that I can't, hear, why don't you just wait and talk about it later instead of playing this damn game with me where you got this little code, or you're going to be whispering, you're looking at each other, and you can tell that there's a motive. Right? It's a little game for whatever reason. It might not be harassment. Sometimes people bond that way where they've got a special little inline with each other, and you're just not in it. And it's something that's like, oh, look, I ordered Chinese food for lunch. You guys have to have the stuff that everybody else got for work. Yum. And some people, they like to have that little special time, But there are a lot of different techniques. You're going to get that, or you're going to get, different, forms of street theater in the sense that your personal information is going to be thrown in your face. It can be aggressive, okay, but, it doesn't have to be, right? A lot of people talk about directed conversations, right? where people are going to be talking about things that just coincidentally have to do with the targeted individual. And it's a very dangerous form of street theater because I've mentioned that you basically, if somebody is not talking to you, you just have to ignore them. Literally. It's first of all, it's polite. You shouldn't be, eavesdropping. Second of all, it can be used as a way to mess with your emotions and all the other things, because you get up, you got so many hours in a day, right? You've got to do what you got to do. You've got to go to work or whatever you got to do, and then you got to deal with whatever's coming at you, and these methods are going to be used. And directed conversations they're a way to agitate and frustrate, to pull the emotional strings of a targeted individual. And I've heard stories, from a lot of different targets. They might be on a commute. They might be one of those type, in a type of situation where they have to take a train or maybe, a subway or a bus or something, And, they got to sit next to people. And, it's one thing for, somebody to, have something that, you can't read into things. It's kind of similar going on or whatever. But, if it becomes obvious and, it involves too much personal information, well, it's a technique. And this guy I used to talk to, he was explaining that, finally he went and got some headphones. He just couldn't deal with it. And they were literally following this guy around, talking louder, and, using other types of silent street theater, just kind of to get his attention, who knows? And, there's those techniques too. And, really what I'm getting at is, you've got to get through each day. Each day turns into a week, and that turns into a month, and all this stuff can accumulate. It's an accumulative type of methodology. Whether the street theater or the harassment, you might be getting workplace harassment, and that might get hot and heavy for a while, or it might change, and then all these little different methodologies can be incorporated into all that stuff. And finally, you're getting to a point where, unless you know how to deal with it, unless you can, be professional, realize first, and I've mentioned this before, that it's wrong. Okay? Don't read into it. Don't try to bring significance where there is none. It's going to be a mistake that you're going to make. A lot of people get psychosomatic at that level to where, it's got to be for a reason. Well, if it's somebody else's reason, then it's their reason. It doesn't mean it's right. And if it's not right, it'll never mean anything. You got to realize the insignificance of this stuff and put it where it belongs. I used to have a real hard time with that because it gets accumulative. It gets to be, nasty. And it'll always just be what it is. You have to remember that. If you don't, it's going to piss you off. You're going to read into it. You're going to get agitated. You might even get angry with God. And why are you allowing this? What are you trying to do? What's going on? But he's not doing anything. He's allowing it. He may have a reason, but it has nothing to do with something that you're going to figure out. Let him, work this stuff out. Let him be God, and you just be you. If there's going to be something significant, let him figure that out. He's already got that stuff figured out. Don't worry about it. If it's wrong, then don't worry about it. And, you got to look at it through that biblical axiom. It is what it is. And you have to look at other biblical examples. That can be a huge problem for somebody who's got faith. You have to look at all the things that, people before you dealt with. You've got to look at Joseph, who was in prison for, 13 years with shackles, digging in to his ankles. And he didn't do anything wrong. His brothers tried to kill him, taken from his family, forgotten, by people in the society of Egypt, where, he tried to help some people out and they just forgot about him. Got accused of rape, Just imagine the stuff that was running through his mind. And if he would have listened to all the voices in the street theater or whatever that he was dealing with, the demons speaking into his mind about all this stuff, what would he have done? He would have come to the wrong conclusion, right? Instead of just following, the protocol that this stuff is wrong, and if God's going to turn it into something good, then just let him do it. Don't worry about it. Don't get psychosomatic. Don't read into it. You can't do that. That's part and parcel of this methodology, is for people to come up with something significant out of it, that it means something when it doesn't. Garbage is always just going to be garbage. When people are doing the wrong thing and they're playing little games and people can't handle it, they can't keep to themselves, they can't mind their own business, they can't be, normal human beings. That's all it is. And, unless something else happens, I would just treat it like a bunch of bullshit. Okay, I'm sorry for the language, but that's what I would do. And that's what I do. And you can see the strategy. You can see that people are being pushed. Things are being correlated. Things are accumulating, and they want that tension to build. And I've talked about that before, that, when you're, receiving harassment and everything, that sense of injustice, it's just like, somebody turning a crank and just, turning up the tension. If you guys have ever played guitar or anything, I play guitar, and you're tuning a string, and it's just, when you're tightening that sucker down, it gets kind of scary a little bit, because you're sitting there and you're tightening it, and you're like, oh, this thing gonna break? Because it has that weird sound to it, and you're like, man, it's almost amazing. Maybe I should get my tuner out again. I think I'm tightening this too much. But that's the whole idea with this. They're just going to keep turning. They're going to keep cranking on you, trying to get you to snap. And it feels that way, you have to process it for that. And you have to know that when you see that, when you feel that, when all that stuff starts to happen and you can see these things coming. A lot of people used to say things happen in threes. Well, okay, I'm not going to draw anything significant out of that, but it is. When it rains, it pours. And they play those games. When they hit you hard, they hit you hard. When they just kind of start, chipping away, at your sanity, and it builds up into different levels of harassment, you know something's coming. You do. And you just have to, have those protocols. You have to have those safety mechanisms in place. And you got to know that, you just need to do what you need to do. That's all you can do. And if you got to take care of something, then take care of it. If you feel like your life is, in danger or something like that, and somebody's, getting a little too, out of their bounds, well, put them back in their place. That's what you do. If you got to do that. But otherwise, just process the information, correctly. You are being harassed. People are, going out of their way to mess with you. And they're doing it for a reason. They want you to react. They want you to get angry. They want you to get frustrated. They want you to start to stew and grind metal and become dysfunctional and get depressed and not work and, get angry at people that have nothing to do with it and start reading into everything and go nuts. That's what they want. Don't give it to them. Don't let them do it. See the correlation. See the buildup. See the accumulative effect, and see the motive behind this stuff. And know that it's like waves. It comes in different, types of methods. And, it's just the way it works. You've got to see that there is a desire behind the harassment you're experiencing. They want to correlate this into a scenario. They want to choreograph. They want to orchestrate. And you got to just look at it for what it is. Don't make it out to be something it's not. Guys, be good to yourselves. Be safe.